He is a member of Toastmasters Hub City and currently area director. His speech title is My Journey with Mental Health. Also, this is in preparation for a speech he'll be doing for the suicide prevention organization there, I believe Saturday, correct?
Yes.
On Saturday. Please join me in welcoming Frank with My Journey with Mental Health.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Depression is a beast, can be a monster. Not just depression, but mental health, mind battles. Sometimes they can look like dragons coming at us, but like most beasts, they can be overcome with the proper tools and help. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Salazar, and I've battled with suicide ideation, mental health issues, and depression. At the age of 8 years old, I was hit by a car. I wanted to go visit my friend. My mom went to go visit his mom, and she went without me. So I ran behind the car, and when I got to the street, I was already running. I was like, I'm going to keep on running. But at that time, I was hit by a car, and I learned a very important lesson that day. I should have run faster. Another lesson I learned is that trauma is real. And I didn't know I had trauma as I was growing up. I was dealing with the aftermath of what that car accident did to me, not just physically, but mentally. In my mind, when I look back, I would see that street as this giant road that I had to cross. I could see myself in slow motion having to just run every second and then seeing that car. Recently, I went back to that same road. It's a tiny street, but in my mind, it was a dragon. It was a monster. And that kept me trapped in my mind for many years because I saw obstacles and complications as these big monsters that were keeping me at bay. Fast forward to when I was 23 years old. I was battling with depression, wanting to take my own life, and just feeling trapped mentally that no one could understand me. It wasn't until I did skip a portion. When I was 11, I started developing seizures, and I didn't know what they were. I used to call them crazy attacks because I would just start shaking and convulsing. But I kept it a secret because I didn't know who to tell. If I did tell someone, they would make fun of it. And so I had a reputation of being the crazy guy at school. So I kept everything secret until one day I had one in the open in front of my mom, and she broke down. She was just holding me, and we were crying, and we're trying to figure out what is going on. And that's when I learned it was epilepsy that the doctors think was caused by the accident. Uh, so that helped my mom understand a little bit. But what she did, and I don't blame her, because she was a single mom, but she tried to keep me very protected. So she held me back from learning new things that I wanted to learn, like riding a bicycle or driving a car, because she didn't want things to happen to me. Now, fast forward when I'm 23 years old, all these things come to a boil, and I snapped. I attempted to take my own life. I ended up in a mental institution, and I went there twice. And the second time, I met a woman there, and she was also a patient, and we began to date. Looking back, I probably wouldn't date a mental patient again, but first time, why not? We started dating. We moved in together in my mom's place, and a few years later, uh, She's dealing with some things. She was also dealing with suicide attempts. And one day she says, "Hey, you haven't visited your friend Eddie in a while. Go visit him. Make plans with him. Go spend a few hours with him tonight. Have fun, and just come back." What I didn't know is that she was planning to take her own life. When I returned, she was unconscious, but she was still breathing. So I assumed she was sleeping, but she was breathing irregularly. So I stayed up all night watching her until the morning, and that's when I found out she wasn't responsive. So I had to call the ambulance, and she died in the ambulance. The EMT used, I forget what they're called, but the little paddles, the, the defibrillator, and brought her back, but she came back in a coma. So for 2 months, I had to watch her laying in the hospital. And again, I had no one to turn to. I had no one to talk to. I tried calling organizations, but they weren't answering. And eventually, she passed away. So it's something that I carried, and I held on to that for many years because uh, back then, mental health, it was said in hushed tones. You didn't talk about it because if you told someone, "Hey, I'm thinking about maybe taking my own life," when all you need is just someone to talk to, they will send you to the mental institution, and that's what happened to me a few times. Or so you were afraid. You would come up with ways to avoid that. Uh, Eventually, I met someone else. We got married, but I took that trauma into that marriage, and eventually that marriage fell for different reasons. 2015, I'm back home. My ex-wife, left me, and that's when I was like, I need help. And part of that was I went back to church, and that helped a lot. But I was still dealing with some issues, and that's where I found the Is God support group, and they helped me uh, a lot with what I was going through, so much that I became a volunteer, and I now volunteer for the Is God support group. And they've helped me, they've helped others through their support groups, to just conversation and giving advice where needed. And if they can help me, and I'm still on that road, but if they can help me, they can help anyone. Thank you.
Okay, so for Frank's speech, Frank, I'm very proud of you. It takes a lot to be able to come up here to begin with and public speak, but your topic and everything that you said takes it's. I can't even imagine how you were able to stand up here and say everything that you did, and then much less think of. I will be thinking of you tomorrow and praying for you if you have to also repeat it in front of a lot more people and to the public. um, a lot of what you said, a lot of people aren't able to say those things. A lot of it has to do maybe our culture. We're brought up where you keep things inside, and if you talk about mental issues right away, they're gonna reply and say, ¿Cómo? ¿Qué es eso? Anda a jugar. No tienes nada. Nothing's wrong with you. Go out and play. And you bottle all that up inside, and then one day you explode. It comes out, and everybody deals with it in a different way. But to evaluate your speech as per se, you did very well, and it took a lot to come up here, and I'm very proud of you.